Tough new restrictions have come into force in France. No one can now leave home without a government form that they print out to justify their reason for being outside. For the next 2 weeks, people are only allowed out to go to work, to buy essential food or medical supplies, for a family emergency, or to exercise or walk a dog, but they must be on their own, and they face a fine if these conditions are not met. Our Paris correspondent Lucy Williamson reports.
Before the quarantine, the fever. As France inched towards lockdown, supermarkets became barometers of the nation's fear. The government had complained that people were ignoring the threat of coronavirus, but attitudes here are changing.
I'm scared. I've got 3 kids. I'm here to buy the basics. I'm afraid for myself and for my children.
Last night, President Macron announced a general confinement of France's population from midday today.
Dès demain, midi, et pour 15 jours au moins.
For at least the next 15 days, our movements will be seriously reduced. It means that outside gatherings or meeting friends or family won't be permitted. Going for a walk, meeting friends in the park or in the street won't be possible. All infractions to these rules will be punished.
It's just gone midday here. The new rules have come into force and there are still a few people out on the Champs-Élysées. 48 hours ago, the government was telling people to come out to vote. Now it's saying, stay in your homes unless it's essential or face a fine. Within minutes of the deadline, extra police were out questioning people still on the streets. 100,000 officers have been deployed to enforce the new rules. Today's deadline sparked a last-minute rush to leave the capital. Polls suggest a sudden jump in anxiety here. Normality, no longer a barrier to this crisis, is disappearing, and France instead is learning to manage its fear. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Paris.
Well, Belgium has also tonight said that everyone must stay at home from midday tomorrow for almost 3 weeks to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Belgians will only be allowed out for medical attention, to exercise or to work in some businesses deemed essential, such as supermarkets and chemists. 10 people have died in Belgium. Meanwhile, Italy remains the worst hit country with another big surge in cases today. There are now more than 30,000 cases there. 2,500 people have died. Spain, which has locked down its 47 million inhabitants, saw cases increase to more than 11,000 cases. More than 500 people have died there. In Germany, Chancellor Merkel has banned religious services and venues, including clubs, bars, leisure facilities, zoos and playgrounds. They'll also be closed. Germany now has over 9,000 cases and 24 deaths from the virus. Well, Jenny Hill is in Berlin, Damian Grammaticus is in Madrid, but first let's speak to Mark Lone, who is in Rome for us. And Mark, terrible death toll there today, but also thousands of people, 2,000 people in intensive care.
Yeah, Sophie, the numbers really are shocking. Today, Italy's Prime Minister said this country had overcome fascism and world wars, but never more than now was there such a need for Italians to be united. He said that 10,000 medical students would have their final year exams scrapped so that they could move more quickly into the healthcare system and support doctors and nurses. Cases here are still soaring, but the rate of increase is the smallest now since the outbreak began. So possibly the containment measures are beginning to work. And if so, that could put pressure on other countries to copy Italy's approach more closely. Now, talking of those measures, from today, this is the updated form that we have to fill in for all movement around the country to certify that we are not in quarantine because of the virus, or if that we've tested that we are negative. That, in addition, of course, to the blanket closure of virtually all venues across the country. A week ago, Sophie, Italy was taking the most extreme approach in Europe, but now just look at how one by one so many other countries are following suit.
And Damian Grammaticus in Madrid, also an extreme approach there. Spaniards locked down.
Yes, exactly right, Sophie. And consider this. Spain, about a week ago, was pretty much where the UK is today. So just a couple of thousand cases. And in 7 days, that has soared 7-fold. So what we saw out on the streets today, similar. Police out there ordering people to go back home, stopping their cars, checking them. This is Madrid's biggest train station behind me. It's virtually deserted. And that Spain here, I think, is equally a sign that if you don't take measures quickly, you get this huge rise in cases. The restrictions here were only brought in yesterday. We now have 2,000 more cases just in the last day, 500 people in intensive care. Spain's Prime Minister promising a massive economic stimulus to try to keep things going, and nobody here complaining that any of this is excessive.
And Jenny Hill, Germany is being shut down but not locked down quite yet.
Not quite yet, but today Germany raised its official risk level from medium to high as the number of newly confirmed cases continues to accelerate. The health authorities up and down the country are bracing themselves. Here in Berlin today, they announced they're to turn a big exhibition centre into an extra hospital with 1,000 beds. The authorities have pretty much shut down every aspect of normal German daily life now, affecting leisure, religion, business. People have been told they should stay at home. They're being told they shouldn't go on holiday either in the country or abroad. The government is hoping that it can avoid following Spain, France and Italy into imposing a complete lockdown. They hope the current measures will be enough. But, you know, people here are looking at what's happening in those countries. They're looking at the daily rise in cases here, and they're starting to fear that actually for Germany, it really is just a question of time.
Jenny Hill, Damien Grammaticus and Mark Lone, thank you all.